Yo,
Hey,
yo,
yeah, I
can
don't
you
know
hear
what the
me?
fuck.
Can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, it might just be the settings that you have,
Maybe.
because
I don't.
because as soon
I
as
don't
I
know.
because as soon as I pull my shit up, because as soon as I pull my shit up, I have the option to ask you to, all that shit. And
Yeah,
can you see the option to ask to join?
yeah, I could. I don't know. I invited you about 1,000 times.
Huh? Yeah, settings be weird. It could be the settings.
Uh,
Or I don't know what it could be.
Fuck. How you been?
I've been Iron. How you doing? I just finished. I've been getting back into rum lately, and I never used to drink Malibu rum,
Oh, yeah.
but I've had like Kraken. I've had some other types of rum, but I never went with like the Malibu because I was like, oh, that's some basic bitch shit. But for whatever reason, I've been feeling it like the last week or so, and I just finished off like the last like fifth, not just like just now, but I usually have it with seltzer and whatnot,
Mhm.
and I finished that off like half hour ago. I thought when you first hit me, like you was gonna hit me back, like you was like, "Oh, do you want to do a live?" I thought you was gonna hit me back like in 15, 20 minutes, so I already had my drink poured up, and then I
Ah,
finished it, and I went outside and smoked, and I was like, "Oh shit, I hope I don't fall asleep before he." I was like, "I hope he didn't pass out already."
my landlord ended up chilling with me on the front patio, and we was just talking about like LA, and there was actually a fire that happened literally right over my shoulder.
Oh
If we
shit!
decided at that point, you probably would have seen it, but yeah, he and I were just
It's
chatting.
all going. It's all going to shit, man. I just saw that there was an explosion, I think, in Ontario.
Oh, you're right.
Like
I saw that.
that was like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, it was. They said it was fireworks, but who knows with
Was it?
fireworks. That's a good
Which
reason.
honestly, that wouldn't be the most surprising thing to hear.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm gonna smoke a Cohiba.
I saw you say you was getting into cigars lately.
Yeah, this is one of the fancier corporate brands.
Hmm.
I've got a few others. Some Nicaraguans, Dominicans, one from Brazil.
Hmm. You sound like you got servants at your palatial estate working the plantations. I got some Dominicans, I got some Puerto Ricans, I got some Brazilians. They all know how to.
Hey, what's
They
fucked
all
up
huh?
is this area used to be run by a Confederate general.
The part of LA you stay in?
Yeah, the street I live on is Johnston, and Johnston was a Confederate general. He actually died during the war in 1964, and then it was
What? 1964?
actually 18.
1864. Okay. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, which war are we talking about, son?
Shit, my torch won't light.
Oh no. You're supposed to refill that before you got on the live, man.
I just filled this yesterday. There we
Oh,
go.
really? Ah. Yeah, man, technology be funny like that, man. Machines and technology. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I
I
thought we
could,
would just keep it lighthearted, you know,
yeah.
maybe not discuss politics too much, but
Yeah, I mean, you caught me I mean, the thing is you got me at a really good time because it's like the only thing I was doing is that I went to work or whatever. I dropped my car off at the shop today. I completely forgot it was St. Patrick's Day.
me
I
too.
went, I went and I was chilling with a friend today. Um, chilling outside. We was hanging out at a coffee place and hanging out at the beach and shit, chilling. And then my car, it was getting some smoke. There was some smoke coming out from under it, and I was like, uh oh, let me go take care of that shit. What's going on, everybody? What's good? Thanks for everybody that's joining. Yeah, I really wish your live would have worked because your shit gets a lot more attention than mine. You have a lot
I
more
mean, it's
follow
still
because you
gonna
already have
go
a.
out like it's on mine, right? I don't know. I don't fucking know how this works.
Say that again.
I said it's still gonna go out like it's on mine as well, right?
Well, they'll get the alert. I don't know if it'll be. they'll get the alert you're going live. I don't know if it'd be the same traction though.
Huh.
I know some
That's
other I know some other people are looking to join the live right now. We can only have one person on at a time. Um, so it's just me talking to Ace. But 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 appreciate everybody joining in.
I don't really care about the viewership. I just wanted to chat, and it feels like a good night to do it.
Hmm. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I still appreciate people. It's like because the thing is, if we just wanted to chat, we could have just had a video chat bar, amongst ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's like as long as if there are people that willing to join in, pay attention. It's like, hey, I appreciate it. Much love. But no, yeah. But it's like you caught me on a day when I'm just not necessarily tuned out from stuff, but I'm just focused on other shit. So you caught me on a really good day. I didn't know it was St. Patrick's Day, and then the only other thing I had on my mind after taking my car to the shop and chilling with my friend, um, I know I had to go do some work or whatever, my job, and then I'm editing one of the videos that I need to release soon.
Which video?
The one where I'm reviewing that beer, where I'm reviewing that Dutchess chocolate cherry ale from
Oh,
Belgium,
nice.
and this is and I'm using this I use this free. It's called Active Presenter. It's a free video editor. They have like a premium version, but I
You
just
get
keep the free
Active.
one.
What up, Active? That's a
What's
rapper
good?
right there. A mad freestyler.
Oh yeah, that's how it's
Oh,
pronounced. Active.
Active. VVCTIVE. It's Active.
Is that the thing? Two V's equal a A? Is it like looking in between the V's? It's like an A.
Yeah, I don't know why he went with that stylization. Maybe there's other actives out there, but
Mm-hmm.
dude's got real talent. We
Oh
gotta
yeah,
we gotta connect again.
I ain't even hate on it. It's just I like seeing the way people you know different the way different shit gets flipped and whatnot.
I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the kind of cat who like read the dictionary or the rhyming dictionary, like Malcolm X style, because when he's in the zone,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see one day, you'll see one day soon, when he's in the zone, he don't stop.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hell yeah. How's
Yeah,
that cigar tasting?
quite delicious, I must say.
So what is it that makes a cigar like enjoyable? Because I've had a couple of cigars and it wasn't really for me.
Well, so a Cohiba, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
rolled nice and tight, but not
Mm-hmm.
too tight. So there's a good draw on it. You know what I mean? Like when you clip it, if you clip it right, it's you don't have to suck too hard to get the smoke out. You just
Mm.
want to pump on it. You don't want to, inhale or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously, it's all about the construction of the cigar.
Mm.
So I'm actually going to cut it again because I'm not really getting the best draw in the world.
Mm. So you cut it. You have to cut it at both ends.
No,
Or no,
it
I'm
comes
sorry. No,
cut
it's just
on
the one. It's
the,
just the one end because the
yeah,
smoking end is already open. Yeah.
it's cut on the end that you light, and then the other
Yes.
end is. Hold on, let me get this. Yeah, the other end is the end that you're gonna snip basically.
Yeah.
So there's what's called a shoulder, meaning like the curvature of the end of the cigar is the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder, and you cut it there. And you don't want to cut it too much or too little. You want to find the sweet spot where the cigar leaf isn't gonna start coming apart on you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got it to a good point, I think, right here.
Okay. What made you start getting into cigars?
Well, my dad has been smoking cigars for a while now, and he and I started enjoying them together on holidays and stuff like that. And then after I really started getting into like spaghetti westerns and stuff, like all the characters in those films smoke like cigarillos or full blown cigars. I remember the one with Clint Eastwood because I've watched all the Sergio Leone ones where Clint Eastwood smokes cigarillos, which are basically like they're basically like Swisher sweets.
Yeah, yeah.
They weren't flavored back then. But there's another one that I watched where he smokes a big, fat, long one. I can't remember the name of it.
You know what's funny that I think about is because um I was listening to somebody talk about Rush Limbaugh
Mm.
and how he, he was he died from lung cancer or whatever, and he would smoke cigars, and he was always like in denial about the fact that like smoking would give him cancer and shit until he got it.
Oh,
But
really?
um, but it was funny because like the cigars that he would smoke that he would have were so comically large. Like I don't know how big the comparison is, but they were just so comically large, and it was just so interesting because the people that were talking about it brought up the fact that there were rumors about Rush's
What up, MPB?
sexuality, about Rush. There were rumors about Rush's sexuality and whatnot, and that part of the reason that maybe he had cigars that were so big was part of his like repressed sexuality, his repressed
Because they're
homosexuality.
phallic?
Yeah, because they're phallic, which I don't, to me, I don't really go for that.
I don't
Kind of
buy
like, yeah, exactly. I don't buy that. If he is, or if there was that, that's to me not a way in which it would have represented. That's like some basic ass like Freud shit, and Freud isn't even really taken all that seriously amongst like real psychologists, you know. But
This is one of the fat, long ones that I was talking about, though.
it's long. It's not especially fat though. Then again, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
I
kind
don't
of
really.
skinny. Yeah, you're right.
Again, I don't really know cigar. Again, I don't really know cigars like that, so I can't really call it.
But MP Beats, real fast, I just want to shout him out. He's a crazy producer from Germany.
Mm.
This is a fat one right here.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's a. Yeah, that looks like some of the.
One's longer than the other, but this one's fatter.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not even that much shorter. That looks like the way niggas be rolling their. Some people be rolling their blunts,
Yeah, right.
except a
This
little
one,
shorter. They put a whole fucking quarter ounce in this shit.
yeah. I'm waiting. I have three of these. I'm gonna smoke these with my dad
Mm.
whenever I see him next. But these ones are from uh these are Dominican and these are Nicaraguan, these fatties.
Mm.
And then I actually don't remember where Cohiba. I think Cohiba has a combination, like their papers are from Nicaragua and the tobacco is from the Dominican Republic or something like that.
Wait, are there papers and tobacco in the cigar?
Yeah, well, the paper is the leaf.
Wait, I thought the leaf was also a dry tobacco leaf. And MP Beats, by the way, I don't know if you're a beer drinker, but I'm going to be reviewing a beer soon
He's German,
on
so I bet you he is.
I know he's yeah. So well, maybe you never know. He could be could be sober. But if you're interested, I'm reviewing a beer and it's from Belgium.
Oh, nice.
It's a Flemish red ale.
Fuck yeah.
So y'all are neighbors, and I know y'all fuck with each other. So
I would love to
uh
do like blind taste test type shit with you, man. Just like line up a bunch of different stuff, especially whiskeys. Like I got four different types of whiskeys right here. But this
I
one I was gonna say this is Brazilian.
ah
Brazilian flag on it.
yeah. So wait a minute. I thought the leaf. I thought the wrap itself was dried tobacco leaf.
Yeah.
Like it was literally dried tobacco. So was
Hmm.
there? Okay, so when I'm thinking paper, I'm thinking like,
I shouldn't have said paper. You're right.
oh, okay.
It's a leaf.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure. I was like, wait a minute, isn't the same? Yeah.
See, I still am. I'm not a connoisseur, but I'm still learning.
Mm. Right, because I was thinking, I was like, well, wait a minute. I was like, isn't that like what like Dutches and shit are? I was like, isn't that like a dry tobacco leaf? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, paper is basically leaves or like wood, like wooden. You know what I mean?
But there's no tobacco in it. That's the thing.
True.
So like, because I'm somebody whom I don't normally smoke tobacco. That includes like blunts and whatnot. So if I'm chilling with somebody and they got a blunt, if they roll a spliff or whatever, it's like oh shit, it fucks me up
Oh,
because
really?
you get because you get not fucks me up, but it's just like you get that extra head rush from the tobacco because you're not used
Yeah,
to it.
yeah. Uh, See, I can't smoke weed right now,
Mm.
so I've been more into these.
Hmm.
But you don't inhale these.
Yeah, no.
Whereas a blunt, you're basically inhaling it still.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it's going to give you that head rush for sure.
Hmm. Well, you still get a little bit of head rush right when you puff on it
Yeah,
because it's like you get some residual like inhalation from it.
you inevitably end up inhaling it.
Yeah,
True.
it's just about a lot less of it because because taking full tobacco to the lungs is harsh.
Also, I've found that I'll beast these bitches. Like a lot of other people will just kind of sip and then just hold it in their
Hmm.
for like a long time. Like I will actually, you know,
So
go.
you kind of see, what's funny is because that's the thing I was wondering because because I'm such a light smoker, I usually just stick to like my bowl or whatever. Because if I do wrap something, if I roll, because I'll wrap like if I use papers or whatever, I'll roll a joint that's like a cigarette, and it'll take me like at least 2 or 3 times to actually smoke through it. And of course, every time you go back to it, the chemistry is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to taste exactly the same, even though the buzz still get a buzz. But but that's the thing I always wondered about cigars and shit. I was like, wait, do you just sit there and kind of hold it like a glass of scotch or something, or do you like because the thing is I went on a date with this chick, really cool chick and whatnot, and we went to a hookah bar, right? This was a few years ago, and I'd rarely gone to do hookah, and I forgot that it was like actual tobacco in there. I was just digging on the flavors and shit, and she stopped after a while, and then I continued to go, and at some point like I had to get up to go to the bathroom, and I damn near fucking passed out, and then
Kind of
it fell on
dizzy.
my ass. You dizzy because I forgot to stop and pace myself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where you kind of sip as you go,
Hmm.
and I don't know. I mean, they go really well with scotch, whiskey,
Mm.
um, brandy, etc.
Mm.
Speaking of which, where's my glass? Oh no, we're going pirate style.
I was gonna say, don't you have a pint or like you have not a pint, but you had a fucking Stein,
I got a
don't
full
you?
mug for the beer. Yeah.
I was saying, yeah. What you drinking? You drinking a stout or a porter?
Oh, I got the Guinness Stout.
The Guinness stout. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, actually that reminds me, I still got some in this one, so I'll pour that out. But I
Yeah.
had a little shot glass I was sipping on with my landlord was over here chilling, and
Mm-hmm.
he and I were just we had shooters, but we weren't really like taking shots.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like shots are kind of childish, so we are just sipping. But we refilled them bitches about 4 times.
Yeah.
We were just on
What's
the
well, I don't
we
know
were
too
on
many
the
children. I don't know children who I don't know too many children who do shots of whiskey. So I don't think you have to feel an adult. I don't think you have to feel challenged by that.
I mean, I feel like it's just a little more adult to sip, get the taste
Hmm.
for it and
Hmm.
make it last a little longer. But I think you end up drinking more in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because each shot, like if you pour 5 shots in a glass and whatnot, there's no immediate rush to have to consume them all. But somebody puts a shot in front of you and it's in your hand, then you're kind of like, oh, I have to take this shot immediately. And
Yeah,
that's to me why I never really I'm glad I didn't get into drinking like that. I never saw drinking as being like that.
it shouldn't
To
be
me,
like a challenge.
yeah, to me, drinking isn't the challenge. Drinking isn't the goal. Like drinking is supposed to help facilitate. It's legal confidence. Sometimes you use it just to give yourself enough to get rid of just enough anxiety and self consciousness to be able to engage with people in a much more fluid manner and do stuff. But
Yeah,
then be conscious enough to not get so sloppy that you end up catching like a fucking battery charge. You know what I'm saying? Or sexual harassment case. It's a
yeah,
fine line.
yeah. I was actually hanging out with some artists this past week, and it's a singer who she's got a house in Los Alamitos, and some of the other people who were there, some of them were even like seniors in high school, which I didn't know at the time.
Holy shit.
I was like, oh, I got whiskey, like anyone want a shot, whatever, not knowing some of these people were like barely 18 and shit. But
So fuck.
but yeah, I noticed that like the tendency among the younger crowd was like we're taking shots. So I'll take one shot, two shot. Okay, I'm gonna hang out. And then next thing you know, they're kind of on that next level, and they're sipping White Claws and all this bullshit. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take half a shot, half a shot,
Yeah.
half a shot, half a shot, another half a shot. Like I could last a little longer,
Pace
but
yourself. Yeah, I mean that's the thing is that like even yeah, so it definitely won't be saving this video, but or uploading this one. Um no confessionals. Don't want to have no confessionals. Don't want you snitching on yourself or nothing.
uh,
Um but but see that's the thing though is that like people think like oh just because they're 18, 19 or even younger than that that like oh I'm young and I have a lot of vitality and shit and I can just sleep it off. You're not really sleeping it off. It doesn't what I'm saying getting hungover drunk is not fun or productive or exciting for anybody. Yeah,
yeah,
you come back a little bit better when you're younger, but you're still having to come back from poisoning your fucking self.
yeah,
So it's like and all you did was you couldn't remember what the hell you did. You lost your keys. You may have pissed or shitted on yourself or vomited on yourself. It's like it's like where's the fun? And to me, I'm just like where's the fun? Where's the enjoyment? You
yeah.
know?
For me, the fun is like smelling it, sipping it, tasting it. When you take a fat shot, you don't smell it or taste it. You don't
Mm,
enjoy it. You're just like, how much can I keep down without vomiting?
right. Yeah. Oh God, what's that challenge? I don't know if it's the 21 shot challenge that people do for the 21st. That's exactly what it sounds like.
That's too
Uh,
much.
yeah, I'm just like you're gonna kill yourself.
Yeah, you could literally die.
You could literally die, and even if you don't die, you're just gonna like. See, that's the
You're not
thing
gonna
is that
remember it.
I've only been. What'd you say?
You're not gonna remember it.
You're not gonna remember it. What I'm saying you're gonna make yourself sick. You're gonna take a day or two to recover, and yeah. I mean, to me, the best times that I had were not even after a while. I couldn't even just like get smoked up and go out because after a while, like you deplete your serotonin and dopamine, like you tap those parts of yourself too much, and then you just become lethargic and kind of like a zombie. You get fried. To me,
Yeah.
the best times. To me, some of the best times that I had was when I would take mushrooms or acid because those things they hype you up, right? And then if you do want to drink or smoke some weed or whatever, it doesn't completely bring you down. It doesn't mean, as a matter of fact, you probably want to smoke at some point before you reach your peak and whatnot, just so it doesn't become you don't have like a bad trip or start like getting over anxious. And
Yeah.
then
The
it's like, yeah, exactly. No, before the peak, like as you start to feel like your skin's really tingling, you feel real flush and hot and everything. Like before, like when you start to first feel that coming on, because to me that was the point when I realized like, oh, it could go left. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Just because you're just super hyper aware and your senses are just overstimulated and shit. So it's like a little bit of weed or whatever helps like bring it down for
Mhm.
me. And then it was like I would want to dance. I'm in my best mood. So like even if somebody brushes me off or whatever, I'm not taking it personal. I'm not getting in my head about it. I'm not getting
Yeah.
overly self conscious about it. And yeah, it was
Okay, let's
cool. Like
let's explore this for a second because
yeah.
I remember I brought this up to my old roommate, and I was like, casually mentioning like, oh, how like when you're high or when you're whatever on something, then you smoke and it kind of helps you level out. And he was like,
Yeah.
what? And he was like, I don't get that. What do you mean you smoke more and you get less high? And he like thought that was like a weird concept. I was like, well, but it's because I, I'm not a scientist, but
Hmm.
from what I've heard, it's like your serotonin or your dopamine receptors, whatever, are kind of overloaded. So
Hmm.
if you smoke, it's gonna kind of get your body to that point where it's got to go the other way.
Right.
Probably a really shitty, stupid way to explain it, but
Hmm.
he was more like anytime if I'm stoned or faded or if I've taken Molly or some shit, if I smoke, I just get more high. But I
Hmm.
was like, I don't know. I feel like you affirmed what I was trying to say. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean it's just a different thing because like weed because that's the thing, right? Is that you know yeah, dopamine and serotonin are part of the processes, but it's like psychedelics have a completely different effect than saying smoking cannabis. Which even if you're smoking a sativa, um, after those initial like 15, 20, or 30 minutes of like feeling a bit of a rush or whatever, it starts to all have the same effect of giving you like that kind of relaxed, laid back, chill vibe. Whereas psychedelics, it's gonna get you hyped up. So you're
Yeah.
gonna be turned up. So it's just a means of helping to balance it out. Saying so that way so that way you actually can continue to enjoy it. Otherwise, your senses are just so overstimulated. You're just so busy, distracted by all the different sounds and colors and the way everything feels that you actually can't just like enjoy the moment. And for me, it's like whatever processes are going on, that has been what has been most productive for me. And of course, it's like, you know, um,
Should we
and of
get King
course,
Powder in this bitch?
we can. The IG lives only allow one other person at a time.
No, the new IG Lives allow up to 4 people.
Really, because there were other people that were trying to join in, and it was giving me the sign. Yeah, as a matter of fact, they're showing it again right now. Only one guest can be in your live video.
Wow. You have a do you have a private account?
No, this page, both of my pages are public.
Huh. Because yeah, the new IG Live thing is like you can have up to 4 people.
Interesting. I haven't. I don't know. Is that like an add-on you gotta download? Because I
I
don't
have
see
no
any
idea.
other up. Because I haven't seen any updates for IG.
I've only
And,
done it on other people's accounts.
hmm. Interesting. I'll have to be something that I can. I have to be something I check out
Copyright
later.
Maker's Mark, right?
I have to be something I check out later. Let's see. Because what you got there? You got Makers. You got Jim Beam or fucking
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels, and then you got
This
that's
is the
with
bullet.
the Bullet, yeah, Bullet, and then what Jameson's? That's
Yeah,
Jameson's, right?
Jameson and Tennessee Honey.
My whiskey, the preferred whiskey I had. Have you ever had the Dewar's white whiskey? The Dewar's
Yeah.
I forget the name I forget the name that it has, but the Dewar's clear whiskey. That is
It's
like
a
my go-to
double
one.
or it's like double blended Scotch whiskey, right? Dewar's.
I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's the clear one that they have.
Is there an app for that?
An app. Watch that be the thing in the future where like you can enjoy food and drinks with one another literally.
Teleportation technology.
Yeah, teleportation of organic matter, or not organic matter, but consumable products.
This shit is dangerously delicious, man.
The Jack Daniel's honey. Excuse me, I've had it. It's I don't know. It's something for. I think for me, I'd have to have it mixed with something. I'm not a big fan of Jack Daniels in general.
It's a bit syrupy,
Yeah,
but
it's a little yeah.
if you mix it with Dr. Pepper, I guess, or Coke, I guess, but I'm not into Coke.
Yeah.
He
I
says,
use seltzers. I use seltzers because I can't. I gotta watch all the sugar intake.
yeah. But I feel like these are all mixing really well. This is like 90 proof.
Mix in with your stout.
With the stout, it goes great.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Yeah, man. The what's our we drinking thing? Because you watched the sake video. I'm working on that. I mentioned this already, but I'm working on the next one. But it's like, yeah, that was my very first video that I did. The practice, like the editing and the video recording and all that shit. And all I had was my phone at the time. And now it's like I did use my phone for this one, but it's more like for B-roll. And then I had my like I have a camera, but I also got this really good webcam. Um, that is lured Platte Valley Fire Shine into my coffee, inspired by you, Ace. I'm not sure exactly what the hell that is.
I've never heard of that either. There's a Jameson coffee, but back to your sake thing too.
Yeah. No, I mean that was basically it. I was just talking about just trying to step up the quality and step up the presentation of the shit. Um,
Yeah, I liked that video a lot.
yeah, and the funny thing is, like as a creator, like when you're always looking back at your old stuff, you're able to see the progression and shit. And just between like that and like the just my other videos and stuff, because basically after the sake one, I basically just started doing all the podcast related shit and all the social political type stuff. And then after a while, I was like, I actually wanted to bring back the drinking series earlier in the last year, but
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? It felt kind of too frivolous with all the other shit that was going on and the fact that people didn't have, nothing was really opened up and people weren't working and shit like that. And it's like, a lot of people are still fucked up, obviously, but it's like, we've turned a corner in some respects, some of us at least. And a lot of people are clearly trying to get back out there and just become the complacent consumers that they always were, you know. So so it's like why not, so why not get back into that shit. So I'm definitely gonna bring it back uh and start doing it regularly again, in addition to the other shit. Just to have something that's more relaxed and less serious and need a break from that shit. Some everybody needs, it's like need a break from that shit.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for tonight to be, is like maybe a little less political. 'Cause we know where we stand politically speaking,
Yeah.
but at the
Yeah, I ain't
same
trying to talk
time,
about nothing political. I'm just, just talking about indulgences and shit.
but yeah, Cam brought up Fireball. I don't know. I was never into Fireball. Fireball's a little too much for me.
I've had it a couple times. I mean, it's whatever. I'm just like, it's just another mainstream. Like you said, like at first you were talking about like shots like, oh, it's too childish, and I get what you're saying. Like to me, Fireball comes off as childish because that's the thing that like everybody once they get off to college and they get off, what I'm saying, 5 minutes away from their parents and shit. Woo, let's get some fucked up. Let's get some Fireball. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like you pieces of shit don't even know how to get
Yeah,
fucked up.
moonshine is a whole other level.
Say that again.
Moonshine is a whole other level.
Oh, but dude, moonshine, dude. So like the moonshine that they sell retail is will fuck you up enough. But I've had moonshine like motherfuckers actually made, and that stuff is like no joke. You think that it's something you're supposed to actually put into your goddamn car in a combustible engine. Like
Yeah,
it you're just
120.
like, yeah, it's like this is not even enjoyable. It's like this literally tastes like I'm drinking a bottle of rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like this is not.
I've never had it myself.
You're not
I've
missing
never
out on.
had it.
You're not missing out on the damn thing. You're better off. This is a case where just going with the mainstream big box uh thing is worth it, because the other thing about like the history of bootlegging, right, is that it was places where liquor was, illegal, and it was punished in the same way that like marijuana is today.
Yeah.
Um, is that because these processes were not standardized, and there was no like health and safety checks and shit, there were people that were getting poisoned from it and dying. You know what I'm saying? They're just getting sick because everybody's just making their own shit in a bathtub or whatever the fuck. And inevitably, when you have something like that and something that's so sensitive people consume, you're gonna have like deaths and illnesses and people. I think there's been cases of people going blind and shit from it.
Yeah. It's like when people have concentrates, like wax concentrates. The
Mm.
reason hash and anything above hash exists is because, the reason hash is so prevalent in Europe is because you can't get caught with the flower, the herb.
Right.
So
Right.
you have it in a form that where you can use less of it, get more stone, and if you're caught with it, maybe you can, get rid of it more easily.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like hash was really big. Like the Beatles were into hash
Oh yeah.
because it was so illegal for them to just have a goddamn flower on them
Hmm.
that John Lennon had to, or look at Jim Morrison when he was traveling in I guess it was Amsterdam.
Mm.
He uh, he got caught with a ball of hash and he ate
Mm.
that like Juice World.
Oh
And
wow.
next thing you know, he's luckily he didn't die from that. He died later, but Juice World got caught with some other level of pills and
Yeah, he got
crack.
caught with a bunch of he got caught with a bunch of opiate pills, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
opiates
I,
and stuff. And then he had like cardiac arrest.
yeah, he OD'd because yeah, he ate too much. I mean, it's like nigga, you got money, you're famous, just fight the fucking case. And plus, like when you at that level, you're supposed to have somebody that's willing to take a fall for you or willing to carry your guns and shit like that. Like you just explicitly like you know whatever. I mean, it's fucked. It sucks and everything, but it's just like you know this is also what happens when people who aren't really built, who people who take on too many risks, then they're prepared to actually deal with. You know what
I
I'm saying?
also
It's like,
heard that Juice WRLD was trying to get off the plane and go through customs and maybe get his stomach pumped or some shit, and he got caught up in all the red tape. And I
I
don't
mean,
know
you
if this
have,
is true or not, but supposedly he would have had a way out of that dilemma
mhm.
had it not been a legal matter. Like because he knew he'd consumed too much.
But I mean, but that's the thing though. The thing is that like, it's not as if he had just gotten famous the day before. I mean, dude had been famous for a minute. He should have either had somebody next to him giving him advice, or he should have been able to pick up on like, oh shit, that like, you know, that I know what I'm doing, and then I know that there might be a price to pay for this. Like, it's not as if you just do that shit and then all of a sudden you just realize like, oh, I might get stopped by the police, or they might have dogs, or there might be board, there might be the customs we have to deal with. It's like, nigga, you're an international, you know what I'm saying, roaming star. You've dealt with this before to different degrees. Hell,
He was
Future,
also like what 21, 22.
yeah. I mean, he's young. I mean, I don't know. At a certain point, I'm like, I mean, some people will be like, oh, you're blaming the victim and everything, but it's like, we also got to realize when some wounds are self-inflicted.
He victimized himself.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you victimize yourself. You take on to, yeah, sometimes you victimize yourself. Simple as that. But but yeah, the drugs, man. The drugs is why the hashish. Yeah, that's it's like those moments like they breed what is it? Desperation breeds creativity or whatever. Um, because I'm kind of jealous. Because the thing is, smoking flower really is a really inefficient way of consuming it and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Hashish is much better. Although now I've become more skeptical of just how strong some of the concentrates and forms that people are taking in cannabis. I'm like, at a certain point, it's like I'm like, you might as well just be taking heroin, like as high as you're getting off of weed.
Yeah.
Like some people really just put themselves into like a comatose state and where they just become immobilized. And it's just like, again, it's like the same thing with the alcohol. It's like you're so fucked up, you're not really enjoying it. You're just kind of like stuck in place,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I feel lucky in some ways to have found that sweet spot where I can sip a little bit of each of these and still have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm Mexican and Irish. Like we're built from a different stock in some ways.
I mean, sure, some of y'all are, I guess. Not everybody.
Yeah. Also, I
Yeah.
went I went 4 years without drinking, so
Mm.
I've had I've seen the best of both sides, the best of both worlds. And when I finally felt comfortable partaking again, I just kind of I knew that it would be different. Like it wouldn't be, well before I don't think that I had so much of a problem so much as it was just too prevalent all around me, like making music and being in a band and being in different
Mm.
bands where we were drinking every practice session, every show, and every this and every that. And after a while, it just kind of gets old. But
Mm-hmm.
also, I was kind of like band manager, like I was like the designated driver,
Mm-hmm.
so I couldn't really be drinking. And then yeah, eventually later, that band went its natural course, and then I find myself at the point where it's like, well, I'd like to have a beer with my family every now and again, or you know, the one of the most recent things that I did was like I think I might have mentioned this to you. I was watching a bunch of fucking westerns with my family, like my dad and my
Hmm.
uncle and that sort of thing, and my brother. We're smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and watching the good, the bad, and the ugly. And man, that was a spiritual experience for me. You know, as
Mm.
lame as that may sound to the layman.
Not the fine connoisseur, the enlightened partaker of fine, cigars and classic film,
Yeah.
as yourself, Dr. Ace Woe.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, like you watch a good movie, you smoke a fine cigar, and you drink some whiskey, and it really
Mm.
is. There's something else about it. You're not, you know what I mean? It takes each experience to the next level.
I was at work today, and something I've been bringing up a couple times before is, whew. So the thing is that like the thing that I consume the most is cannabis. I smoke the most regularly, but even then I'm a lightweight. But it's like, I still see the ways in which it affects me. And one of the things that I've come to realize was that, but it's one of the things I started to notice about myself was I was, even though I was very much involved in doing music and trying to escalate how engaged I was with it and as a performer and all that other shit, right? At the same time, I found myself not getting as drawn into down the rabbit hole like I used to. And granted, part of that is just taking on more other responsibilities, getting involved with other shit. And it's like naturally you don't have just 8 hours to blow just getting stoned and just going down rabbit holes of YouTube playlists and Spotify, playlists and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
But it's like I'm still finding stuff that I discover, still discovering shit that I'm really into that I like. But in general, I have found that my enjoyment of a lot of music and a lot of content in general has really slowed down to where basically, I may find a few records or a few things that I really enjoy throughout the year, um, and the rest of the time I'm just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Has that been something that you've experienced?
Um. Sometimes, but at the same time, like I kind of know where to look, especially on the music side. Um, like okay, I play drums, right? Like every day, I got an electronic drum set, so I've been trying to play at least an hour of drums every day.
Hmm.
And there are some times where like I play 30 minutes and I'm like, shit, I don't know what to play. Like I'll play along to music
Hmm.
mostly because that. First off, it's good for your timing,
Yeah.
um, as opposed to just playing a 30-minute drum solo. But also, it's just better to pick your brain and to explore different avenues. But I feel like I explore a lot of funk and soul.
Hmm.
Those archives, those discographies are so fucking deep
Hmm.
that it's kind of hard to run out of material to find. Like the other day, actually, separate from me drumming, I was just sitting on this patio, smoking a cigar, just chilling by myself, and I started looking up songs about LA or songs about
Hmm.
California, and I started building a playlist of songs that are about the area that I live in, and you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Man, I literally could not get enough. I couldn't, I, it was never ending. The source of material to add to the playlist and to songs that I'd never heard or heard of, whether it was by artists that I knew or didn't know. And so, well, yeah, sometimes I hit that writer's block, so to speak, or listener's block, if you will.
Hmm.
Um, with Spotify, I have Spotify Premium. Kind of never ends.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean the thing is that like obviously there's always been this my I guess my issue was more of what you just referred to as listeners. What did you say? Listeners, what?
Listener's
Fatigue?
block,
A listener's
or yeah,
block. Well, the thing is, like I said, it's not that I'm not discovering shit that I don't like, or that I'm like, oh, where to look. It's just after I do all the other shit that I need to do or pursuing the other things that I do and whatnot, it's like I just don't have the same passion or same,
Oh, wow.
I don't want to devote. I don't even want to devote it because I'm definitely somebody who is like push other people to be like, hey, sometimes you have to go and look out for stuff for yourself and and actually dig through the crates as the old expression goes, but nobody actually digs through crates. It's just digging through playlists and
I do.
suggestions and shit like that. But
Who's joining?
you know, but
Hooligan
that
King and Bessa Mariva. Forgive my
yeah,
pronunciation. But yeah, no, I mean, I dig through crates still, but that's just because I
yeah.
collect vinyl.
Right. But in general, just going on that free form search where you just kind of like, let me just see where things take me. Um, I don't know. I've just found myself uh, less open to that. And it's like I've discovered a lot. I've heard a lot of great shit. I've discovered a lot of great shit, and I still discover stuff. But it's like the pace is just so much, slower. And the thing is that I don't even know if that's necessarily a bad thing because it's like, yeah, I love music and I want to continue to have to be able to be active in it to some degree. But at the same time, it's like also my perspective on it has changed as the landscape is changing and expectations and changing and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, just what's and like with this whole pandemic and whatnot, like the searching for stuff was already becoming slower, but now since the pandemic and everything, obviously I'm creating a lot of my own content. Um, and most of it is centered around, making a YouTube channel and doing video essays and doing the podcast and now getting into TikTok. Um, because the prospect of doing music is pretty much like few and far between. I know there's been some shows going on. There's different places that have been doing stuff, but me, I'm very much risk averse. I'm much more precautious when it comes to shit like that. Like I'm not gonna know when I'm gonna feel comfortable going to, you know, go as a fan at a show or even go and perform.
Hmm.
I'm just barely starting to get comfortable going outside in public again. Uh, Even without the vaccines and shit. Just because it's just like I just still see so many fucking people who are just they didn't care, they're not gonna care, and you know, it is what it is. What's going on, Vilson? Can't tell what you're trying to get across, but thanks for joining us. Man, not sure exactly what message. You lost me at the kick. Oh, that was somebody. Yeah, you lost me after the kick, which is like the Latin laugh. For those that aren't aware.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I feel that way more so with modern music. When I hang out with people who like they play more modern material, modern pop music, or like especially EDM kind of stuff. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have anything against electronic music in general, but oftentimes that shit just bores me. I'm just like, it's just so in one box.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more into exploring older stuff, more obscure stuff, and just yeah, finding artists who were not interested in being inside of a box.
Well,
Even if you
mm-hmm.
listen to Parliament Funkadelics material,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, from our modern day standpoint, it's like okay, they're a funk band, whatever, they're playing funk music. But really, back then, the issue for George Clinton was like this music was too white for a lot of black people and too black for a lot of white people. That's like a famous quote of his,
Mm,
where basically he was blending all these genres that weren't
yeah.
supposed to be together, right? Like it was like jazz and blues and rock and then whatever funk was, whatever James Brown had established as funk, and what else was? I mean, even some of it was is avant-garde or psychedelic. So
Mm-hmm. Well,
you
yeah.
can
I mean,
explore
but the
that.
thing is that like that becomes, and the thing is that becomes its own box. That becomes its own like parameters and stuff that people can use to then, bend and experiment further and whatnot. And it was like, George Clinton. He was in a. I think the original group
Tupac.
was. Yeah, I think the original group was called Parliament.
It
and
was
then
the Parliaments.
it was okay. It was the Parliament, and then he developed Funkadelic, which was supposed to be like the funk backing band, and then eventually he just fused them together and became the P Funk, you know, what I'm saying, legends that we know them as.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like even then, it's like there were more obscure artists, you know, what I'm saying, than them, or people who were doing more experimental shit than them. Um, you know, at that time, I don't know. I mean, I guess like I don't know. Like I said, to me, I feel like there's always some interesting shit being done, whether you have to look into the mainstream or whether you have to look into um, more obscure, lesser known subcultures and whatnot. Because there's plenty of main. Because the thing is that like I think I hear just as I think I still hear plenty of stuff that is mainstream that I enjoy, and I very much enjoy, you know, the influence when people get it when it fits, you know, my preferences when people get it right. Um, Fusing all those different elements. I like the fact that EDM is having a moment along with the different kinds of hip hop that's going on and its influence on pop in general.
Yeah.
You know, I enjoy it to different degrees. But yeah, it's like a lot of the music. Like I've only yeah, this it's not that much. And I've tried to stay away from the streaming because I guess a part of me has been a part of me wants to avoid it because I like to take my time and actually like listen through a record and shit and figure out if I'm actually really into the shit as opposed to just like hearing 50 songs in a row and later on having to go and sift through which ones I like, which ones I don't like, you
Yeah.
know. Just because the thing is, there's no way I'm going to actually be able to explore even a fraction of all the things I want to explore. So the things that I am going to explore, let me give them some time and make sure that they really mature and grow on me and whatnot.
Check out this one.
Mm.
Can you see what it says?
It's kind of blurry. Cariel?
Cartel.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's kind of yeah. Okay.
But this is Nicaraguan. So I don't know, is it a Nicaraguan cartel that made these, or is it just capitalizing on the term cartel? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I don't know. I don't know too much about Nicaraguans. I don't know. I don't know how their shits run.
It's a very chocolatey cigar. I'll tell you that.
Mm. I don't know. They may be. They may be like the Yakuza in Japan, where they're just like, hey, we're the cartels. We run shit, but we also want you to feel comfortable doing business with us. So, you know, keep your money straight, be respectful, and we'll all get along.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why like the Mexican cartels, the Latin ones don't do that. They seem to just be much more concerned with like it's like you have that much power and influence. It's like, but then why would you? But then it's like you just want to live in the you know some people. I guess you know whatever. That's much more. I guess for whatever reason, they're much more concerned with just intimidation and fear and the violence and whatnot. Whereas like the Yakuza, they're like, yeah, we'll fuck you up, but for the most part, we're trying to be business people. Uh, we're trying to actually be we actually care about the society. We actually trying to be productive, and we're not trying to fuck with
Yeah.
anybody
It
that's
brings
not.
back to what we were talking about in that one podcast we did a few weeks back about how gangs are actually concerned with the community and shit like that. The
Right.
cartels, some of them are actually kind of communal in some
Mm-hmm.
way. They're protecting their area, their certain areas, and they're maybe like almost like a local police force or a vigilante police force in some
Mm-hmm.
way. But unfortunately, in Mexico, a lot of those cartels don't give a fuck, and they're just very territorial, and it makes it so that I can't go to Mexico like I want to.
Right. Yeah, man. And the thing is that like I've seen other people, you know, yeah. I mean, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. Um, yeah, it fucking sucks. As a matter of fact, I don't know. Have you heard of a band called Chon? CHON?
Chan,
Chon, yeah.
they're like a progressive math rock kind of band.
Yeah. And I've known about them. I first saw them. They're from San Diego,
Okay,
and I first saw them almost 10 years ago when they were back in not 10 years ago, probably like 6 or 7 years ago. But
Okay.
I first saw them back in North Carolina,
Really?
and yeah, and this is when they were still coming up and everything, and uh, it was so goofy too. Real side story. I was so mesmerized by the music and everything, and I'm not usually a person who gets like super like groupie-ish or starstruck and everything, but it's like
Yeah.
I went to them afterwards and I was like, oh, you know, you guys are great and everything. And those guys, they were also very like very shy and introverted and whatnot.
Huh.
Um, so it must have felt like kind of annoying me just being like, oh, hey, you guys are so cool, you're so great and everything. I was like, oh, where are the rest of the guys at? And I was like, I was literally standing at their table. And I was like, oh, they're all right here and everything. I was like, hey, you guys are great and shit, and just, you know, and then I just walked away and shit. But in any case, hey, what's going on, Mezzy? Um, but anyway, so as they're starting to bubble and they're starting to get bigger and do more tours and shit, right? I noticed that they had a tour scheduled that they were supposed to do in Mexico, and it got canceled, right? And I was like, oh, okay, something must have came up. And then we seen a little bit later that they had started to do tours like in Europe and shit, and they never made any other announcements that they were gonna come back to Mexico and shit. And I don't know if they've been back since. And my immediate thoughts were, I was like, oh, is it like fears of the cartel? Is it fears that they might get like they may have to pay some ransoms, or they may have to, you know, somebody might get kidnapped or whatever the fuck and shit.
Yeah.
You know,
That
you know, they
sucks.
never really. What'd you say?
That sucks.
Yeah, it does suck, and they never really gave an explanation. They just said, you know, oh, it sucks that we have to cancel it. You know, hopefully we get it back again. And that was like a good, that was like at least 4 years ago. You know, um,
Yeah. I was about to get some Tame Impala tickets to go see them in Mexico City
mm.
back in March of 2020.
Okay,
And
so right before
you
everything
know,
got locked down.
yeah.
hmm Dude, I was supposed to go to well, I didn't have anything up. I mean, I had a bunch of shit that I was scheduled to do, like hosting shows and events and stuff like that. The last gigs or last shows that I was trying to go to, as just a fan, I went to go see Adam Neely when he brought his band to California for the first time. That was back in like November or December of 2019.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Do you follow Adam Neely at all?
Not really.
He does like he's a bassist and he's like a New York based musician, and he does like a lot of music educational type videos and whatnot. Very
Yeah.
engaging. But anyway, so he brought his band, and I went to go see them November, December, and and because I keep up with the news and politics and all this shit. I'm already catching wind of the fact that China and other parts of the world are starting to shut down and get cases of these viruses because it started popping off over there back in November of
Right.
2019. So then, I'm reading the reports, and I'm seeing that people are, you know, getting sick and people are traveling and shit. And do you know who Father is? He's like an alternative rapper.
No.
Father, yeah, he's interesting. But in any case, I had tickets to go see him, and I started getting nervous, right? Because of all the information I'm taking in and everything. And I get to the venue and shit, or the day of, I decide not to go to the show.
Huh.
And I think this actually might have been, yeah, I think this might have actually been like January, February or something. And then, you know, a couple months later, we get shut down, and it was just so funny because now everybody's attitude towards like the germs and shit, and because like up to that point, there was a trend going on of like artists spitting in their fans' mouths, of fans like explicitly saying that they want the artist to spit in their mouth. As a matter of fact, there's another artist. I don't know if you heard of him. His name is JPEG Mafia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I follow him quite a bit, and he's an artist that I have been keeping up with the last couple of years. But
Peggy.
Peggy, yeah, Peggy.
Peggy. I know him
Uh,
because I'm a Genius moderator, and
mhm.
there's a specific song called uh, "I Can't Wait Till Morrissey Dies" or some shit
Oh
like that.
yeah, yeah.
And somehow or other, I ended up like editing the bio, the song bio, and some other annotations on that song page. And
hmm
ever since then, on a monthly basis, I get notifications about people upvoting, downvoting, or just commenting on those annotations.
Yeah,
and it's all about how he hates Morrissey. And I actually like the Smiths, and I like Morrissey, even though he's kind of an asshole.
yeah. Good art,
Yeah,
shitty person.
yeah. Supposedly, isn't he kind of racist too, or some shit?
No, it ain't supposedly. It ain't kinda. He's explicitly racist.
Damn. See, that makes me sad because there are some Smith songs that I really like,
Hmm.
but it's that same Michael Jackson shit. Like, do I have to not listen to Thriller now just because he diddled kids?
I mean, here's the thing with that. You know, I mean, here's the thing with that is that first of all, I'm very much a person who is of the mind that you can separate the art and the artist as much as you want. For me,
Except for Bill Cosby. I think that's the only one we can all
what?
agree.
No, I
I
mean
don't
at the same.
listen
No, not, no,
to
not real,
Bill Cosby himself anymore.
not really. I mean, at this, that doesn't even apply then. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to invite. It,
Did
I'm
you
not just
want
going to
to
like.
laugh at
Exact. Well,
at Air? What is it? What is it? He has a few different comedy albums that I have on vinyl still, and I
really.
can't sell them. I can't get rid of them. No one wants to buy them.
The thing is, they'll become collector items later on and shit. The same, they'll become collector's items
Maybe.
later on. You just got to hold on to them. Here's my thing. Here's my thing with this is that on one hand, here's the line for me. It's when the revelations about your dirt that you've done in your personal life starts to spill over into the music and where I can't separate it. In the case of like Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby, um, so much of their material doesn't have anything to do with the issues that they were talking about and whatnot, or the stuff that they were going through in their personal life, right? And and with Michael Jackson, you know, I was recently listening to a Vlad TV interview that he did with Aries Spears, and he was saying that like, because there was a report that came out years ago that they raided Michael Jackson's place and they found a bunch of pornography that was like bestiality and child porn and whatnot, right? But then you
Oh,
never saw, but the thing is, I only heard about that once and I never saw anything further on that, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then
yeah.
I recently listened to a Vlad TV interview with Aries Spears where he mentioned it, and Vlad said that he goes through and looks at the details and said that like no, it was all just like consensual heterosexual porn, um, and what I was like that's interesting. Um,
Wait. Are you saying Aries Spears was interviewing Michael Jackson, or just an
no,
interview with
no, no,
him?
no, 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 no. Vlad TV,
Yeah.
Host of Vlad TV, he was interviewing Aries Spears, and he
Okay.
brought up Michael Jackson because they were talking about um, oh, did you see the Oprah thing with with those other victims, supposed victims and whatnot?
Yeah. Aries
I'm not on because
had a he had an
the thing.
impression of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's done impressions of Michael Jackson, but I mean, it's just he's just a big cultural figure, and everybody has a certain connection to that shit. But anyway, the
You know,
point I'm
I
trying to
met
get.
him, right?
What was that?
I met Aries Spears a couple times, right?
Oh yeah, how was he?
One of the coolest motherfuckers I ever met, honestly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at the Irvine Improv,
Mm-hmm.
and he was headlining for like the week or the weekend rather. So it's like he would do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show, and I watched him do his closing bit where he basically does like crowd work to close the show. But the way he does the crowd work, fucking genius.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to ruin it, and I don't want to, I don't want to hype it either. But basically, he's doing crowd work, and I went up to him on like the Friday night, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, just so you know, I think that was brilliant, and like the way you closed the show, like, I don't see anybody do that the way
Mm-hmm.
that you do it." And I just gave him, I gave him props, and then
Yeah.
the next Saturday, he walked up to me like, "Hey, man, you know anywhere to like chill around here or anything?" And like he was like pretty much asking to hang out and shit.
Right.
But I had other stuff to do, and I was like, "Oh, I just kind of told him some other bars around the area and whatnot." But yeah, like
Yeah.
he was that kind of guy where a lot of comics and a lot of people in that realm, they don't give you the light of day. But he
Right.
legitimately came up to me afterward because I had come up to him the day before and just kind of like said my piece.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, like you're familiar with the area. I'm sure, like, what is there to do around here, type of thing.
Hmm.
But, nothing really came of it. I wish I had just been like, let's hit the town, bro. Like, but
Yeah.
I was,
I mean,
yeah,
I mean, the thing is that like that could have. It's like, yeah, you could have had a cool. I mean, that's the thing, right? We get caught into that you know, that starstruck thing where like you see somebody who's really amazing in one field, and you're just like, oh wow, they must be great in every other respect of life. And it's like, and the thing is, I think it would be cool to chill with Ari Spears. I would definitely like to chill with him.
yeah,
Um, he seems like somebody who would be cool all around, but you never know who is like somebody who's just really good at one particular thing, and then you hang out with them and you realize that they're just shit in every other domain of life, or they're complete boring and shit, and they need you. Where like you're basically like carrying them along, and when they're not on stage and performing, it's like they're just like any other fucking average, schmuck, you know.
possible. Yeah,
But anyway, back to the point I was trying to get to. What's going on, Mr. Akio? Um, but the thing I was trying to get to is with Michael Jackson. The reason why it doesn't bother me as much because I didn't watch the Leaving Neverland or whatever the fuck.
I,
I don't know. I don't know if I will, if I ever will. But there just seems to be. I don't know. I guess to me, I'm not as sold on like, oh yeah, he did Diddle Kids and shit like that. It's definitely weird. It's definitely not good that this grown ass man, whatever condition it's going on or whatever, needs to get counseling, not build a fucking theme park to relive his child, to live through a childhood he'll never be able to have and hang around children and shit, you
yeah,
know. But it's just like all the supposed evidence I keep hearing about. It's not like with Bill Cosby or fucking R. Kelly, where there is tangible proof back to back to back to back, you
yeah.
know, of this shit happening. I mean, hell, in the case of Bill Cosby, he straight out admitted it, dumbass. You know what I'm saying? But in any
Yeah.
case, so for me, I'm like, to me, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to invite anybody over and then put on a Michael Jackson playlist and be like, yeah, let's watch Bill Cosby's best of his and shit. But like, there may be times when I'm like, you know what? Let me pull up some old Bill Cosby. Let me pull up some old Michael Jackson, whatever. Or let me pull up some R. Kelly songs where I don't feel like he could be alluding to like an underage woman. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? That's to me the worst offender. The worst one in this is R. Kelly because all of his shit is so focused on romance or sex, especially just sex. And it's just like I'm gonna grind on you. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that and shit. It's just like, yeah, me. I know I'm talking about a consenting adult woman, but I don't know if he is. And so that's what like, and so for me, that's what like of those three, it makes it the hardest to go back to want to go back through R. Kelly's catalog, just because it's like just because I can't get out that idea in my mind that he might be talking about an underage girl. Whereas with Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby, so much of their catalog and the material has nothing to do with any of the personal dilemmas that they face. And I'm somebody who can appreciate good art from a shitty person. Um, just because I don't believe anybody is perfect and whatnot, and that's just how it goes.
I was also never really into R. Kelly, but I did listen to Bill Cosby's material. Especially Bill Cosby himself is such an influential comedy album, and it is just that material actually does still hold up. I think if you were to listen to it, if you were to show somebody they didn't know who Bill Cosby was or anything, they would be
Hmm.
laughing their ass off.
Yeah, no, he's
Michael
brilliant.
Jackson is probably the worst example of that in terms of like um, how lovable he was and how iconic and timeless his discography is. I mean, I was
Hmm.
drumming to the wall off the wall a few days ago. I was drumming
Yeah,
to got or not no what is the rock with me, right? The
wanna
first song,
rock with you.
rock with
Yeah,
you, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not the best at remembering the titles or the lyrics of songs, but
Hmm.
you know which one I was talking about.
Oh yeah, the one right before Thriller. To me, even though it's like Thriller was obviously the biggest one, it had the bigger hits. To me, Off the Wall is a much more consistent and cohesive album.
See,
I would throw
thank you.
Off the Wall on more consistently than I would Thriller. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. See, when I sit down to drum, Actually, when I used to bus on Seal Beach
Hmm.
Pier, I used to play off the wall, and I would make money every time I played off the wall. At least the first few songs on that one. Thriller, I would play Thriller too. I would play Beat It. I would play PYT. PYT was a big one.
Oh yeah, of
Any
course.
dude walking down the pier with his girl, if I played PYT, that dude would give me money
Oh yeah.
every time, every single time. But yeah, the last few songs, like the one with Paul McCartney on Thriller, I could pass on that, and I love Paul McCartney
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Thriller was just Thriller. It's an interesting story. Do you know the story behind Thriller?
in general. What do you mean, like how they named it, or the
Well,
song?
no. So I read a while ago. I read Quincy Jones' autobiography. I just got it from like my public library where I was staying at, and read through it. And the part where he was talking about the making of Thriller, he said that Thriller almost didn't happen because,
Yeah,
like a lot of this shit that, people are running on tight deadlines and trying to, and Off the Wall was Michael Jackson's best album. And he was just starting to like really develop himself as an adult artist, separating from the Jackson 5 and shit. Right.
yeah,
And so obviously, you're trying to top what was seen as the biggest record at the time, or one of the biggest records at that time, right? And you're just like, and so it's like, a lot of stress, a lot of deadlines, a lot of, what do we do next? And one of the things that he pointed out was that like once they got the album done and they thought they were done and shit, and they went back and listened to it, I forgot exactly what the reason was, but they said that it was unlistenable. They said that they could not listen through any of the fucking shit, so they had to go back and redo the whole album essentially. And
really.
um, and what they redid ended up becoming the Thriller album that we know today.
Wow.
You know, and
Huh.
it's just fascinating. It's really interesting. And Quincy Jones is obviously interesting, uh, a lot of ingenuity in his career since what the 40s, 50s, and shit. He's been a legend. I mean, the thing is, speaking of Bill Cosby again, Bill Cosby, people don't know he was I think a jazz pianist, or he played a horn of some kind,
Yeah,
and he did at least one album, I think, and help Quincy produce some other shit during like the 60s and 70s.
really.
Yeah, yeah, Bill Cosby. I mean, that's the thing, like, and that's why people get so defensive about Bill Cosby and whatnot. And it's like, to me, I'm just like, okay, just separate the art. Just say like, hey, there's some good art and shit, and but but he's a piece of garbage. And then also, a lot of people who kept up with it knew that he was a very pompous person who looked down on a lot of the struggles of other black people and shit. His attitude was basically like, hey, I did it. What's your problem?
Yeah,
You know. Which is shitty. He didn't seem to recognize how lucky he was and how fortunate he was, because there were plenty of hardworking, brilliant, other black people who got fucked over and weren't able to enjoy the success and the welcome party, the welcoming that he received.
yeah. There was a lot made about his whole like pull your pants up shit, and just all around kind of, yeah, like you said, looking down on others and
Hmm.
feeling very pompous. And that reminds me of some of his early bits about, he would talk a lot about how he would look in the mirror at himself naked. Do you
Hmm.
remember this one?
No, I don't.
He had a whole bit about how, granted, okay, to his credit or whatever, he was talking about how he no longer felt that way, but he talked about a lot about how he would stand in front of the mirror naked and just examine his body, how he felt like a god and stuff like that. And yeah, it was like a whole fucking thing on. I don't think it was himself. I think it was a different album,
Yeah,
but he had a lot of different albums, so I can't keep track.
yeah. I mean, that's I don't know if that's. I mean, yeah, it's obviously like an indication of like some of the vanity and egoism.
Yeah,
Um, but the thing is, at the same time, it's kind of hard not to develop that when like you are looking around at yourself and you're one of the only niggas, what I'm saying, in a marginalized group that's been able to do this shit, and you've genuinely made stuff that was considered classics, not just for the black community, but for American culture. and that has been international, and that has been accepted on an international level. You
Right.
know, so
It always tripped me out how, like growing up, my parents introduced me to Bill Cosby.
hmm
My parents being mixed race, but they're both basically part Mexican, part white, whatever. Like they're not black. So,
hmm
but they like sat me and my brother and my sister down and were like, "This is Bill Cosby.
hmm
This shit is hilarious. We think you might like this." But they didn't do that with Richard Pryor. They didn't do that with Red Fox. But
hmm
then it's interesting to me how over time, obviously, with in light of the sexual assault allegations and stuff,
hmm
people just generally agree, oh, Richard Pryor was the greatest comic of all time, or you know what I mean? Like I felt like Richard
hmm
Pryor was more back then looked at as like almost underground, or like he obviously because he was just had dirtier content,
Yeah.
but Bill Cosby was like put on this pedestal, and then Richard Pryor was kind of like because I bet you Bill Cosby looked at Richard Pryor. I know that like Richard Pryor
Oh, he looked
supposedly.
down on him. He looked down on him.
Yeah. And supposedly Richard Pryor in his early days was doing a Bill Cosby impression, like he was more wholesome.
Yeah.
And then after he realized he wasn't going to make it like that, he kind of switched it up and just harkened back to his like raised in a brothel roots type of, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah. And the thing is,
I
for
thought
all the
the same.
success, and the thing is, for all the successes that Richard Pryor had, it's like he was obviously a very tormented soul.
Yeah.
Had a whole bunch of issues with his sexuality and with drug use and with violence and all that shit, right? And these were things that were there was a lot less sympathy for somebody. Like it was much more back then. It was engaged with more as like a spectacle, like, oh, when is it all going to fall apart? You know what I'm saying? Like you're witnessing greatness and you're witnessing something that's like a madman. Whereas Bill Cosby was more reflective of the general values um, that people had. And to me, I still would consider it's. I mean, I think at a certain point it comes down to what your preferences and what your tastes are. To me, I don't personally think that Bill Cosby is necessarily better than Richard Pryor. He's a better technical performer in that he's much more consistent because his personality and his content and all that shit lends to that. But Richard Pryor, for all the high,
Storyteller,
mm,
but Richard
mm.
Pryor was a better social commentator.
Well, I mean, social commentary, but also um, he was just super. He was also just saying shit, kind of like George Carlin, like 7 words. Like George Carlin made a lot of great. What's going on, Sabir? I mean, George Carlin made a lot of great, socio-political commentary and observations, but also a bit of his whole shtick was just being very offensive and being very blue, as they say, playing very blue and just being very vulgar, being very crass, and just saying shit to get that shock value, being edgy, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and that was kind of the same thing with Pryor. And then it's like you give the people what they want, so that way you can feed them something that they need, kind of thing. Because they both took inspiration from Lenny Bruce, who was just all vulgarity basically.
Yeah.
Um, but let me just go out here and just say every derogatory thing I can, just cause. And it's like, yeah, that was important ground to break. Um, but like hell, you even listen to like Rogan and other comics of today, be like, yeah, I mean, he wasn't really all that funny. It was just, it wasn't all that engaging. Um, Lenny Bruce, no, no, Lenny Bruce.
Oh, Lenny Bruce. Right, right, right.
Yeah, that Lenny Bruce's shit really wasn't all that entertaining, but that it was something that had to happen to help push for that
Yeah,
creative expression and
he
freedom of
paved the
performance.
way by just saying fuck the rules as we know them.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, exactly, exactly. But to me, it's like um, technically, Bill Cosby is the best is the best of them. He's the most consistent. He has the best form.
Yeah.
But in terms of what speaks to you, I mean, that's going to vary on each person. Because honestly, my favorite comedian of all time is put as or my favorite comedian as of yet is Patrice O'Neill, and then after that, I would say it's I wouldn't even say Dave Chappelle. I would say it's actually Tim Dillon.
Okay.
I just
Love
really like, yeah, yeah, I love Tim Dillon. And the thing is that, like, nobody's 100% all the time, and nobody says,
Hey, what
nobody,
up? Expression joined us.
it was going on expression. And the thing is, nobody's ever going to say shit that you always 100% agree with. But listening to them speak, even when they make offhanded topics or observations or just commentary about their own life, the way that they observe things, it also just kind of like speaks to a certain
We should
like
see
yeah,
if, sorry to interrupt you, but we should see
yeah.
if we can get Expression to join us.
Hey man, we tried that already. I'm seeing the thing again. Only one guest can be on the live video.
Yeah. See, let me see if I can do it on my end. Yeah, I don't know how to fucking do it. Fuck.
Yeah,
Expression,
it
I
might
love you.
it might be an add-on or something. It might be an add-on,
You gotta
you
let
know.
me know how to do the four-way, bro. Yeah. But yeah,
But
I feel you. I mean, I love Chappelle. I've definitely put him in my top three at least.
mhm,
I don't know if I could really order my favorite comedians. It's always kind of rotating.
mhm.
Tim Dillon is up there in the modern day. I saw him in live a couple times at the Comedy Store, and what do you say here? I think
He
it's for
said I think it's for
verified.
verified accounts.
Um,
Okay, there we go. That makes
One
sense.
day, he's verified. One day, Expression, if you go live, we all got to do it because my homie here, he really knows his shit in terms of like politics, and we always have a good conversation.
Or even like this conversation, we're not even talking about politics. We're just talking about we talked about drugs, we talked about entertainment, we talked about um
Comedy.
comedy and shit. Yeah, I would say to round out my top three, and I do kind of feel shitty not having a woman immediately come to mind, even though there are plenty of hilarious women that I've met, or there are plenty of hilarious women entertainers. It's just the ones who speak to me the most is I would say Patrice O'Neill, then Tim Dillon, then Bill Burr, and of course Bill Burr is Bill Burr was Patrice O'Neill's one of Patrice O'Neill's great friends, and
Yeah,
so he in a way he's kind of carrying the torch of that style and that perspective.
yeah, yeah. Bill Burr, I would say, is in my top five easily.
Hmm.
Lucid Valley. Um, I met Bill Burr too, actually, at the Irvine Improv.
Oh yeah,
That's
how
a
was
whole
that?
other story. But
How was that interaction?
very interesting.
Yeah,
I I kind of fucked up in some ways because I wanted to give him something. He plays drums, right? I play drums.
yeah,
I actually got him some because I heard that he liked Questlove,
yeah, yeah,
so I
yeah,
got
yeah.
him some Questlove signature sticks, and I got him a copy of Led Zeppelin 4 on vinyl, and
Okay.
I gave it to somebody. I want to say it was like his manager or something, but and then on the way out when he was leaving, I went up to him like, "Hey, what's up, man? Like, you did a great job, or whatever. I just wanted to say like, enjoy that record, or whatever. Like, in a way, I wanted credit for giving it to him, and
Yeah,
I
or
shouldn't have done
yeah.
that. That was kind of a dick move. But my friend, who was supposed to be my friend, who was another drink runner at the Improv, he cut me off in the middle of it, and he goes, "Hey man, you're not supposed to be making friends with comedians. Like, get back to work, basically." And then
Oh
Bill Burr was
no.
kind of like, "All right, man, see ya. Like, I gotta go." Like, he was basically literally gonna fly out of there because he flies
Yeah.
helicopters.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and then I could tell he was kind of chuckling about it, just kind of like, you know, kind of gave
Yeah.
me the salute, like, "See ya." But I mean, I
Damn.
can look
That's
back on it and laugh, but at the time, I was fucking furious at my friend because Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians, and I literally went out of my way to like give him a gift. But you're not supposed to do that when you're working there. It's like it's not kosher to be an employee giving one of the headliners a gift. They look
man.
down.
Man, fuck that shit. It'd be one thing if you was it'd be one thing if you was one of the amateurs that night or whatever, and you was obviously trying to get on this dick. I was gonna be like, was you gonna ash that? Like that was a pretty big ash. But 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 no, but it's like if you're just there as a worker bee and shit, like no, I would love that because the thing is, and here's the thing, right? With all entertainment and all this shit, right? Is even though I'm not somebody who normally gets like who really gets like starstruck and oh my god, I have to meet this celebrity and everything. I understand that so many people cling to entertainment and shit in these social figures, these media figures, because their lives are filled with crushing anguish and quiet desperation. So
Yeah.
so when somebody when somebody, is like a worker or whatever, and they want to come up and be like, oh, I heard you're into this. Oh, I'd love to give you that. I'll be like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, thank you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Just so they know that they have a connection, that somebody else out there that they respect and that whom that they think expresses their values and what they would aspire to. And they
It
just want
should
to
have
show that.
been. Yeah. It
Like
should
your
have
friend,
been.
that was a really shitty move by your friend.
It was, but he, in a way, he was right because we're in the thick of it on a Saturday night, and for me to go out of my way to say what's up to Bill Burr, he's thinking I'm over here running drinks, and you're rubbing elbows with the talent, but
Yeah,
obviously it was a little bit different because I had just given him a gift, but
yeah,
in some ways the gift should have just been an anonymous gift, like, hey, I respect what you do, or I appreciate you, whatever. And I
yeah,
know you like this.
yeah.
But he ended up kind of shouting me out in a way on his podcast the next day, actually, and kind of just being like, "Thank you, someone gave me this gift at the Improv or whatever." Obviously, he didn't
Hmm.
know my name or anything, but
Yeah.
so that was interesting. But yeah, I mean, I also met Joey Diaz in a similar way, but it was a little bit
Mm.
different. I gave Joey Diaz a copy of Big's "Ready to Die"
Oh yeah, yeah.
because I know that he was a notorious Big fan.
Oh yeah.
And, but that was a little bit different because it was like a Christmas show,
Hmm.
and so everybody was in the spirit. And
Hmm.
when I walked up to him after the show, his did you ever watch the Church of What's Happening Now?
Yes, of course.
His co-host,
Lee
Jewish
Syed.
guy. Yeah,
Lee Syed. Yes.
yeah. I gave the gift to Lee, and
Hmm.
so Lee was the one who took it into the green room for Joey. And
Hmm.
then after the show, Lee was standing there, Joey was standing there, and I kind of started walking towards them, and I could tell Lee kind of gave him the like, "Hey, that's the guy who gave you that record."
Yeah.
So by the time I got there, Joey was like, "Bring it here, motherfucker!" Like
Yeah.
literally gave me a hug, and then I was like, "Hey, I was wondering, could I get a picture with you?" And then he's like, "Yeah, yeah, come back, like come to the green room." So we went into the green room, took a picture. Joey fucking kissed me on my cheek and everything. It was like it was mafioso status.
Stupid.
It was fucking glorious.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
man. I mean, yeah, no, yeah. I mean, the thing is, those moments are, they're great, they're beautiful, and you know, it's like, yeah, some people do push things too far. Yeah, there's a certain way to do stuff, but it's like there's also no real rule book to this shit. So like, um, so no, I mean, and those are great, and those are great. I mean, those are great, stuff. And the thing is, like, when you bring that up, because I listen to a lot of Bill Burr's podcasts and whatnot, I'm pretty sure that like I heard the episode where he might have mentioned that, but of course he couldn't say your name. And it's
yeah,
like, yeah, it's like you don't necessarily need to, get credit or whatnot, but it's so I mean, yeah, there's legitimacy to both sides of that shit,
yeah,
you know. Because I could definitely see myself if I was in the position of that friend also being like, hey man, like, like we're all backed up over here and it seems like you're schmoozing it up with the fucking talent, you know. It's like, what, you trying to plot your next move so you can ditch us and shit, trying to become Bill Burr's assistant, or whatever. But
yeah. And I mean, he and I are still friends and stuff, but to
yeah.
me, it was more about like I play drums, Bill Burr plays drums. I wanted to just be like talking to him about those sticks more than anything. The Led Zeppelin vinyl was like whatever. Everybody loves Led Zeppelin, but
Yeah.
not everybody knows that Bill Burr respects the shit out of Questlove. And so
Mm.
for me to give him those sticks where they're like, it's got this Questlove signature on them and everything,
Hmm.
that was a whole other thing where I just was like, wanted to talk to him about drums and whatever. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you also could have just put like a note on there, like a post-it or something like that, like "Hey, from," and then left like your IG, um, and just be like, "Oh, Ace, whoa," and he could shout it out, or he could not, and you know, it could be
I don't know if I
something
even
or not.
had an IG back.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was like 2017. I
Mm,
didn't
mm.
even really start. I didn't even start my Instagram really until 2018.
I think I was actually the same. I was really late to a lot of the social media and
I didn't
whatnot.
give
I
a
mean,
shit about Instagram.
yeah. I mean, the thing is that I'm glad that I didn't because just in the last few years of using all the different platforms and using them mainly for like the content and to keep retention for my specific content and everything, I definitely understand when people talk about being, you know, the way in which social media affects people's psyches and
Yeah,
shit. It's a very real thing, and so I'm kind of glad that I got into it very late because you know, the stress and anxiety that I feel and the overstimulation that I feel from it now, I know is a fraction of what it would be if I'd actually been on since this stuff. Like, because the thing is, I never had a MySpace. I never, I never got one. I never got one. So MySpace kind of passed me by. It took years for me to get
I
on
just knocked my
Facebook.
phone over. My bad. But I'm listening. You
So
never had a MySpace?
yeah, I never had a MySpace. Um, I never had any of those other shits. You know, the first social media I had was Facebook, and that was like 4 or 5 years after it was made public. And then like you know, and then getting on the other social media platforms, Reddit, and you know, Instagram, Twitter, uh, and now TikTok. And TikTok is actually the one that I'm really starting to enjoy the most lately.
Yeah.
I got your little ring light going on, so you can be all
Yeah,
illuminated. There you
I
go.
wanted I had set it up originally, but
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I got a little light here too, and what's great about it is that it's a there's an app you can download on your
yeah.
phone, and you can control you can change the color. There's really only like two colors, but like you can do a gradient with them. But two colors, and you can also change the brightness of it.
Okay.
It's really nice, and it kind of adds that extra flair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Next thing I want to do is get like some changing lights because some people who do streams and stuff they have changing lights where like the color changes like every you know whatever you can set different intervals and whatnot, but it goes through a whole spectrum of colors.
Yeah. Mine has like kind of a blue, yellow, and white setting.
Hmm.
I think the blue setting is probably the one I prefer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Blue's usually usually the least harsh.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, man. You know what's interesting is I have a story. It's not exactly like those. Actually, it's not even related at all. Never mind, because it doesn't involve like a celebrity or nothing. But those are But yeah, man, it's like yeah, people live lives of such you know quiet desperation and shit. So it's like I totally understand when people want to you know they look forward to going to a concert or going to a show or going to an event and stuff because it's like this is the only time that they feel like they can really breathe freely and be what they really you know are or at least hear what they really are being expressed through somebody else who can
And
be less
considering Bill
restrained.
Burr was trying to get out of there, he was done with the show, and you could tell he was
Hmm.
going to catch a helicopter flight home. He
Hmm.
was really nice. And then I could also tell that it made him laugh to see that real moment of like, hey, motherfucker, get back to work. You know?
Right, right. Like that's like he definitely would use that for inspiration in one of his bits, or as
Yeah.
a
So maybe
you know.
one day, if I ever run into him again, I'll be like, hey, remember that one time? Yeah, that was me being an idiot. And I know that he could relate because he used to be a grunt too, just like I was a grunt in that situation.
Yeah. Well, I think he said that he worked in I think he said that the last job that he had before he broke was we started doing comedy full time was he was working in an office in some capacity. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, but it's like, you know, it's like yeah, that's so fucking awesome. Um,
it's still a great story, you know.
yeah,
At the time, I was mad at my friend, but I couldn't
over
really. He was kind of right, you know, so I couldn't really be too mad.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. Competing. You have those competing different interests and those competing different responsibilities and shit that you want to do and got to do, and that's always the tug of war, right? And the thing is that like that's something that Bill talks about in this shit. Tim
Yeah,
Dillon has his own rebuttal to it because his path has been different, but that Bill's whole thing is that like, hey, I took a shot on myself, I took a risk on myself, and it's paid off immensely.
yeah,
And you know he says he likes to say that, oh, there's nothing wrong with chasing your dreams when you're past like 35 and shit. But at the same time, not everybody who is still pursuing their shit, pursuing stand up or pursuing their dream or whatever at Bill Burr's age or that at past 35 are that focused, disciplined, and organized and actually offering some real like insights, some real personality. A lot of people are just out there kind of doing whatever,
yeah.
just to throwing shit at a wall to see what sticks. So it's like he's also, different in that matter. And then of course Tim Dillon, who is, only in recent years really started to come up, because he's only a couple of years older than us, I think. I think he's like 34 or 35 right now. But his path has been like, sexually repressed, involved in a lot of, you know, nefarious like business, saying type shit, financially
He was
fucking.
a child actor.
Well, that was a short thing. He said that he was like in child theater and whatnot, but he said like the main thing that kind of fucked up
He
his
was
life.
Oh man,
What was that?
he. I'm pretty sure he was on like a legit TV program as a young kid.
It wasn't a TV program. He said he's mentioned it before that he was in theater. So like he's been on a couple like he said theater productions. But the thing is
Uh-huh.
like there's also different levels of theater production, and he mentions the fact that even as good as he was or as far as he went, it was still nothing compared to what a lot of other people accomplished. And he's
Uh,
like that, and he says that like that's just what it is. That's how it happens. There's tons of great, talented, hardworking people whom never get outside their hometown. You know, not because they
yeah.
didn't try, not because they were fucked up, but because that's just the game. That's just how the game goes.
You know what's crazy? Want to hear an interesting story about Tim Dillon?
Mm,
Did you ever watch Kill Tony?
no, not really.
But do you know what it is though? Like,
Yeah, I know what it is.
yeah, it's like a comedy podcast. Um, I used to watch that show every week and follow along and all that stuff. But there
Hmm.
was a minute there where I was transitioning out to LA where I was trying to attend the show and stuff. I ended up writing an article about the drummer of the show. His name's Joelberg,
Hmm.
and Joelberg was like, "Hey, anytime you want to come down, just let me know, and I'll get you on the guest list and stuff." Because I had written an article about him.
Yeah.
Long story short, there was one day where he put me on the guest list, and I knew in advance that I was going to go. But the night before the show airs on a Monday, so Sunday
Hmm.
night or maybe Saturday night, Sunday morning, I woke up and I had this dream that the person who was going to be the guest in the show, Eddie Bravo, I had
Mm.
a full-fledged dream that Eddie Bravo couldn't make it, and that Tim Dillon was gonna stand in for him as the guest
Yeah,
instead.
yeah.
And I was like, that's a weirdly specific dream, bro. Monday comes around and that's the exact shit that happened. Eddie Bravo couldn't make it, and they announced on social media Tim Dillon is gonna stand in for him instead.
Hmm.
I
That's
couldn't write
interesting.
this. It blew my mind. I was like, I mean, like I don't know if I believe in psychic powers or any of that shit, but like
Hmm.
that shit happened, and somewhere in my subconscious, whether I predicted it or if it was pure coincidence, it was just really weirdly mind blowing
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I saw it coming somehow
yeah.
in a dream.
I think because I was talking to somebody else about this, about like stuff that can't exactly be explained by science, but not also being a very superstitious person.
Yeah.
What I think it is, or at least what makes sense to me, is, once you've been following certain personalities or certain platforms or certain content for a while, you start to see different patterns. Like if you're somebody who follows the comedy scene, even if you don't go to stand-up shows or follow like comedians per se, when you listen to some podcasts, you'll listen to comedians who talk about going to a show and somebody bumped them, right? Or somebody
Yeah.
had to cancel and somebody else filled in. So you already have that working motif in your mind. And so then when something comes up, and I don't know exactly what your thoughts are on Eddie Bravo himself, but it's like I know that if I was in that position and I kept up with Kill Tony or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'm aware of who Eddie Bravo is and I'm aware of who Tim Dillon is, in the back of my mind, maybe subconsciously, I'm playing out a scenario where maybe Eddie Bravo um, can't show up and he can't spoil the cast with all his conspiracy theories and take things on 1,000 left turns, talking about aliens abducting him to play in his ass booty hole or whatever. And if they bring on Tim Dillon, whom he can talk about certain conspiracy theories, but they're more shit that's related to like corruption and intelligence agencies and like Epstein type shit, like stuff that's a little more tangible, a little more grounded.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't dare try to say that I predicted it or I was blessed with some psychic vision,
Mm-hmm.
but it was certainly interesting, and there was a 24-hour period where I went, what the fuck? What is happening? Did I enter a bizarro world scenario? I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it'd be weird like that. There's some shit because it's like, because I'm like I said, I'm somebody who isn't superstitious. I'm somebody who doesn't believe in supernatural anything. At the same
Yeah.
time, though, I understand that there's some shit that science and philosophy and theories can't really explain right now, and they may never have an explanation for them. But I'm
Yeah.
like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's something super crazy, you know,
Exactly.
going on behind this. It's just like, to me, I'm very comfortable, and this is like, and this is like my whole view is like on spirituality and shit like that, because people be like, oh, you're an atheist, so that means like you're certain that there's nothing else going on. I'm like, no, I mean, I'm pretty confident that this is the only thing, but I'm like, even if there is something else going on, I just kind of shrug my shoulders and go, I'll deal with it when I get there.
So
You
you're
know what
not
I'm saying?
agnostic, you're atheist specifically?
I'm atheist specifically in that I don't believe there's anything. I don't have any confidence that there even could be anything. I'm very much okay with the idea of there being nothing.
Well,
It's
hey, let's
fine.
drink to there being anything. You want to take it? I feel like we should have started this with the St. Patty's Day shot. Yeah?
Unfortunately, well, I wish I would have known earlier because I would have went and got some more alcohol. But
Are you
because like
dry?
what'd you say?
You're dry right now? Like you don't have anything?
I've been dry since like when I finished. I told you when I had that drink and shit. Like as soon as you texted me, I went and I poured up that drink, and that was the last drink I had. And then I was
Oh,
waiting for you to, and then I was waiting for you to hit me back. And by the time we got back started, the liquor store that's next to me is already closed.
mm.
So I mean, I smoked or whatever. It's like I'm not exactly dry. I'm not exactly sober.
Be like, here, drink through the phone.
Drink through this, drink it through the phone. Um, but yeah, man. Yeah, like
Shit.
it's yeah. I'm just very, yeah. I think that's what it is that like, because to me I look at it in two parts. Like when people talk about like religion and spirituality, like you have the text of the shit, right? Which is just like the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, which it's easy to point out contradictions or hypocrisies or stuff that's just pure fantasy and myth making, right? It's easy to pick that shit apart.
Yeah.
What's less easy to pick apart is the existential shit of why do we exist? What is the proper way to live? Where do these values and ideas and shit come from? There's no one single answer for that. And I acknowledge the fact that science and all these different theories and disciplines can't answer all those things either. But here's the other thing. The other side of this beyond the text is the spirit of the shit, right? Which is, what is it that makes you feel most comfortable? What is it that helps you to get up in the morning? For some people, it helps them get up in the morning knowing that there's one God that's, pulling the strings or whatever the fuck. Or for some other people, it makes them feel good knowing that that they astrology, you know what I'm saying, that makes them feel good and gives them a reason to get up and be like, oh, that's just because of blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
Me, what actually brings me comfort is the idea that there's nothing else beyond this life. And it's not even that my life has been free of struggle or free of pain and vice and or anxiety and shit. But for whatever reason, because of my personality and because of my experiences and whatever, the way my brain works or whatever, I'm comfortable with just kind of shrugging my shoulders and being like, I don't give a fuck, whatever. What's
Yeah.
going on, Hugo?
So would it make you more uncomfortable to think that there's an afterlife or
I mean, honestly, yeah. I don't like the idea of there being an afterlife because to me, I don't see consciousness. I'm not really clinging to what we understand as consciousness. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, there's plenty of things that I enjoy in this life. I'm in no rush to die, but I'm also not in any rush to. Um, I'm also not necessarily like clinging to life. Like, no, I have to, extend my life as much as possible. Until the last days where like, I'm even when I'm just holding on by a fucking thread, but oh, I'm still here and I'm 113 years old and I can't even wipe my own ass or chew my own food. It's like, what is that? You know?
yeah. I mean, I can say, speaking from the perspective of somebody who, again, I'll put it this way: haters be damned. Like, I consider myself a Christian because it's easier than going down the rabbit hole of explaining how the term Christianity didn't exist in the Bible or in the New Testament. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I I'll
I
call
mean,
myself a
Catholic and Protestant and Baptist and Presbyterian and Methodist. None of those words are in the Bible either.
I'm not one for all of these labels, but I do believe that it's true that Jesus Christ, the Nazarene, that he came down, um, that he was God incarnate. I do
Hmm.
believe, and I believe that there are reasons to believe that, right? That we
Hmm.
could talk about on another day. I'm not really an evangelist. I don't feel the need
Hmm.
to convert people or any of that shit. But
That word's not in the Bible either.
right. So, but like speaking from that perspective, I can say that the thought of dying and then going to heaven and then spending an eternity either with God or with your family members, whatever, that is a terrifying idea, and it's a
Yeah.
weird thought to it's incomprehensible. So,
Yeah,
and that's okay to
essentially.
admit, even if you believe that that's what's going to happen, or even if you believe that that is available to you or whatever. So,
Dude, the opposite is incomprehensible. That's the thing about all of this shit, right? Is that even my example of there being nothing, because
yeah,
obviously I can't imagine not having consciousness. You literally can't imagine that. It's incomprehensible because our
hmm
very existence is defined by having this awareness, this consciousness, this cognition and shit. So the
yeah,
thing is that like of these things, all of these theories, all of these religions, all of these shits are incomprehensible inherently.
right,
Because and there's not really any one which I find to be especially desirable. Um, but the thing is that like I guess I see it more as like freedom of like true liberation of what true liberation is, which is that the only way to not get fucked over in the game is to just not be aware of the game at all.
or to not be invested
And
in any outcome,
or say that again to cut out.
to not be invested in any outcome.
Exactly. And it's there's no easier way to not be invested in the outcome of something if you're not even aware that it exists,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and and then here's another whole other side of this coin, or whatever. Like, I remember one time, I was attending Cottonwood Church. Have you heard of that? It's like a mega church in,
I don't think so.
I guess it's in Los Alamitos, and um, Cottonwood Church is like a big kind of multi-denominational church.
Mm.
They have thousands of members. Like they have the main pastor there is white, but like the vice president pastor, if you will, is black.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good church. Like it's cool for just going to contemplate things and you know converse with people, whatever. But at the time, I was basically auditioning to play drums on their worship band,
Yeah.
and their worship leader made me take like some kind of a test. Like it was like they wanted to quiz me on what I believed, and part of the test was like, what do you believe? Like, who do you believe will go to heaven? Like, what do you believe about the afterlife and stuff? And they basically were trying to get me to say that if you didn't believe in God or Christ as God, that you were going to hell.
Yeah.
And while I do believe that your entry into heaven is contingent on you understanding who God is and understanding who to profess as God, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if I believe that everybody who doesn't know that automatically goes to hell. Those are two
Right.
different things, in my opinion.
All right.
So I kind of told him, like, hey, I don't know how to answer this question. And he was like, well, you can't be on the worship team unless you answer it the way that we want you to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I know the way that you want me to answer it, and I know what you're getting at. But if you actually look at doctrine, technically speaking, this isn't in the Bible. Like,
Yeah, exactly. That gatekeeping shit.
it doesn't, you know, Christ never said, I mean, he did say that, you know, those who believe in me will not perish. But he
Yes.
didn't say uh, South American tribal people who had no idea about Christianity were automatically going to suffer in hell for eternity, right?
Yes,
That's two different things.
exactly.
And so
Exactly.
my approach was, well, I don't want to, I don't, I'm not going to, I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner here. So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, God could save anybody. And there are stories of people having near-death experiences where they they saw themselves in hell, and then next thing you know, there was a light, and God came to them and pulled them up out of it. So if you look at
Yeah.
those stories, well, those people died, and they, right? So, and
Mm-hmm.
God supposedly saved them anyway. So it's like you're kind of implying that that in fact, like the old paradox, can God create something so big, like a stone so big he can't lift it? Are
Mm-hmm.
you saying that God really can't lift that stone, that he really couldn't pull someone up out of the supposed hell that he created or didn't create or whatever? Like, come
Yes.
on, dude. Like that, this is not for us to decide, and nor does it have anything
Yes.
to do with me wanting to play drums to worship the God that we all believe in.
Right. And here's the thing about that though, is that you got to realize is, and this is probably also something that became clear to you, is that not everybody who is professing to be a part of, whether it's a religion or political faction or cultural group or whatever, right, is necessarily a true believer in that shit. They may just be using that as a means of social control or getting money or getting power and ascending the ranks and
Yeah,
whatnot.
or
You know,
prestige.
people prestige or whatever, whatever. That's the thing, is that like all of these, you know, while somebody may be while while even I can recognize that there are merits to certain parts of the Bible, it's mainly the New Testament and the things that Jesus, um, you know, saying the things that are accredited to like Jesus and whatnot, right? And the fucking three fuck. Who am I thinking of?
The
Mark,
Beatitudes, or oh, okay, yeah.
Paul, Mark, and fucking John, and then
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the gospel writers.
the gospel writer, even though it was all really written by one motherfucker. Anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that even though I can recognize the merits, some of those things, I'm like, I just take the good and leave out all the other bullshit, because one of the things that I started to pick up on is that when you confront people with these contradictions or say like, hey, you're talking about something that isn't even in this text, I read it back and forth, you're basically just saying that I'm supposed to take you at your word and not question you. And that's not something what a supposedly benevolent, open hearted God is. That's what a tyrant is. That's what a dictator is. And you're
Yeah,
just using this text because you know that there are people who genuinely believe in it and will literally fight and kill for it or die for it to enforce that shit.
yeah. It's also ironic that the Protestant church was built on uh, Martin Luther questioning the Catholic, the
Hmm.
strict Catholic teaching,
Yes.
right? Him saying, like basically what he was saying is we don't need an intermediary, that Christ was the intermediary between us and
Hmm.
God. So
He
therefore
saw his blood spilled, so he saved us. We're all born.
yeah.
We're all born saved, essentially.
So it's ironic to me when Protestant denominations or people within those denominations are
Hmm.
so fundamentalist about that stuff, because it's like,
Hmm.
wait a second, like you don't even realize what you're saying, like,
Hmm.
because the only reason that you can preach from the comfort of your pulpit is because we broke away from the Roman Catholic Church, or because we had the, in America we broke away from the Church of England.
Hmm.
We made that separation of church and state gives us the freedom to do so. So
Yeah.
I
I mean,
would
that's
definitely consider that.
I mean, well, there's two parts to that, right? Is that in one part, just like with any religion or any ideology, any set of values, everybody is going to have pet issues and have things which they're more concerned with than others. And when somebody has the opportunity to go and found their own thing, which, there's not a bunch of different factions of Catholics, right? Like it's all more or less like the same thing. But
Yeah.
but Protestantism is inherently about like, no, you have because you don't have to go through an intermediary to be accepted, you can more or less kind of make your own. It's a DIY. It's like a DIY version of Christianity, basically. So the
Yeah.
Protestants have their versions, the Baptists have their versions, the Methodists, the Episcopalians. Everybody can make up their own shit because that's what the philosophy allows for. That's what that iteration
It's
allows.
supposed to be anti-orthodox.
It's inherently supposed to be anti-orthodox. That's the whole point. But the thing is that like what inevitably happens then is that like as your particular anti-orthodoxy becomes more established, it becomes its own orthodoxy. The same way in which like in music and shit, like an alternative person be like, oh, I'm operating outside the box, but then you actually stick around and you become successful and legitimate, you actually become a box.
Yeah.
It happens. And then the other thing that you got to remember is that, yeah, that the people who broke away from the Church of England, I mean, yeah, on one hand, that was a good move, but the people who broke away were fundamentalists themselves because they broke away from the Church of England because England was becoming more secular,
Like the
right?
Quakers.
With the Quake, what was the fucking, the, uh, I mean, yeah, those first motherfuckers who came over here, they were the ones who were burning witches and shit. Those motherfuckers were fundamentalists as hell. And the thing is that like the strain of Christianity, the strain of Protestantism from America's founding, colonial founding at least, has been around, always had a Christian fundamentalist bent to it, always. Um, so yeah, so it's always been there, you
True.
know. But in any case, I'm actually getting pretty tired, and I got to eat something before I pass out.
Word.
But hey, another great chat.
Oh yeah.
St. Patty's Day stream, and
Well,
check your settings because should be able to invite people to having problems inviting. So hopefully we can get that figured out.
yeah, man. We'll sort it out, and then yeah, we should definitely put our heads together more about like doing this more consistently, or whatever format we wanted to look into. I'm in talks with another studio guy in Hollywood who's got a facility and with mics, everything we could want.
What
So
happened to what happened to what happened to that other person you were telling me about?
I don't know. I don't really know, but in a way, it's probably a good thing because this other spot is on another level, man. I'm telling you.
Well,
So
Hollywood's even further away from me.
I don't think so, really, because well, it might be similar distance.
Because where was the other place? Sorry, I know
It
I'm
was
doing my hair right now, but
it was in Longdale, but
oh, Lawndale is way closer to me, dude.
really?
Yes, because I stay
All
near
right.
Long Beach. Because I stay near Long Beach.
Oh, okay. You're in Long Beach. My bad.
Yeah,
All right, we'll figure it out.
yeah. So we'll get it together. But
All
in
right.
any case, I will holler at you later, man. Talk to you later.
Late.
Peace.